Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. We have a great guest today, like all days, but today we have Kentucky Commissioner of Agriculture, Jonathan Shell. He is a farmer, a husband, a father, a Gary County FFA alum, as well as a past Kentucky FFA state star. And he is also the first person to be a guest 2 times on Growing Kentucky's Leaders. So Jonathan, thank you for being here with us as you celebrate finishing your first year as Agriculture Commissioner. How about we start by just giving us the highlight reel? How are you, and what has your administration worked on this year that you are really proud of?
Everything's great. I don't know if I said this in the last interview that we did for the podcast, but I have the best job in the world. I think both of you all have heard me say that at least 100 times this year. But this is truly the best job in the world, being Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Kentucky. I get to see the best of the best and everything that we have to offer in agriculture, especially our young people and these leadership organizations, specifically FFA. And it truly is amazing. I love telling people all the time, too. People get frustrated over politics. They get frustrated over government. They get frustrated over the news. And I tell them, just turn it off. Like, it doesn't have to consume you. Turn it off and go volunteer to local FFA or 4-H chapter. I mean, you will see something to believe in this next generation. If all you're seeing is young people today that, you don't agree with what they're doing or you get frustrated over it, just stop it, turn it off, and go volunteer somewhere at one of these youth organizations across the state. And these FFA chapters will take you in immediately. You say that you've got something to offer, and they will take you up on it immediately. I've got the best job in the world. I get to get a front row seat of all the innovation that's happening, all the great things. I get to work with your all's officer teams across the state of Kentucky, and then also the state officer teams. And it truly is a special position that I get to represent the people of Kentucky every single day when my feet hit the ground in something new. And not one day has been the same. I've not had the same day repeat twice in the last 12 months. And we've had a lot of success this year. We've had, I tell people this was the building year. This was the year that we kind of start building and implementing and working on data collection and things that we need to actually execute next year in a lot of the things that we're working on. And so the highlights for me this year, I think, are kind of 3 main things that we have really tried to hone in and focus on. Is agriculture as economic development, the program and initiatives that we have behind that, of really going to our major businesses in Kentucky that are in ag and asking them 2 questions. One, how can we secure you for the next generation of agriculture? And we've had several successes out of that in certain companies, poultry companies here in the state. We were able to work on some of their water issues that they had. We were able to work on some of the local ordinances that they were dealing with local governments. And, the savings to these companies, we've got one, for instance, that we were able to save one of these companies $7.5 million over the next 10 years. And just doing a renegotiation of a contract that they had. And, finding success through things like that has been easier than I thought that it would be, just by asking the questions and having the communication directly with people. What we're finding a lot is that it's not that people are trying to be against things that we have in agriculture, so they have no idea. And so once you start having those conversations and they understand it better, it usually ends up finding a solution. So around the ag is economic development, we've had 5 regional meetings this year across the state that we've brought in local economic development professionals from a region, along with their local governments and business folks and farmers, to have the conversation to talk about the impact that agriculture has. And from that, we're moving into session to where we're going to get a new pot of money associated from the general fund for the Department of Agriculture to focus on economic development opportunities in the state. And so we're going to start out, we think, with $5 million. That's going to go for large scale projects that we can help to incentivize coming to the state of Kentucky. And one of the things that we have identified is that in agriculture, a lot of times we don't have the direct job creation. We've got the investment, we have the impact, but a lot of times there's not the direct job creation. A facility like the ethanol plant in Hopkinsville has $750 million revenue business, unbelievable impact that it has in that region, but it only has 168 jobs. If that was a manufacturing facility, it'd have 500 to 1,000 jobs that were with it with that kind of revenue. But the difference is the impact that it has is with 3,800 farmers in that region, not to mention truck drivers and everyone else that's dealing with that facility. So the impact is massive. It's just that the direct job creation is not. And so when you're talking about economic development, a lot of times they get honed in and solely focused around direct job creation, benefit packages, that kind of stuff associated with it. And so with this new fund, we're just going to require an impact statement from a state funded university to show what significant impact will be for a business like this. And so we think that we're going to use this as a pilot to help kind of navigate through maybe even some other industries in the state for economic development for the future. But we're really excited about this and hopeful to put more money in this fund so that we can help more projects come to Kentucky to get that end user, that processing, that further processing for Kentucky farmers and for the next generation of agriculturalists. The second thing that we have focused on very, very much is around food as medicine, about trying to help get our people healthier through local food initiatives that we have. The partner that we've been working on is with the Hospital Association, and we've really tried to focus on three main areas with our hospitals. One, how do you get more food in the cafeterias that's locally grown? And so in most cases, your hospital is your largest food consumer in your county. So if you take somewhere like St. Clair's in Moorhead, 500,000 meals a day or a year out of that facility.
Wow.
And so it's a massive, when you have a, you've usually got employees, you've got patients, and you've got visitors that are coming in and they're getting fed in that cafeteria. And so let's just say we took 20% of that business and made it local, about the impact that that would make for local farm families. Massive. The second is how do we get more ready to eat foods in their vending areas that's locally grown? So further processed foods locally that can impact that ready to eat model. And then the third thing is around how do we work on getting fresh prescription food for post-patient care? So medically tailored boxes. Let's say you got diabetes, you got stroke, you got heart disease, you got something that's ailing you. Instead of us having a healthcare system that's pushing pills and pushing surgeries and doing sick care, what we're trying to do is to get to a point to where we're talking about well care, how your food affects you, how your food affects your body, and how your food can affect your health. And we know that the outcomes are there. There was a study Anthem did with 500 diabetics in North Carolina that showed because of food prescription, these medically tailored boxes for these diabetics, that on average, they were saving $123 a month in healthcare cost on each individual patient. And so when you think about the impact of the healthcare system and to the insurance companies, we're getting a lot of buy-in, not just from private sector healthcare industry, but also from your Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP recipients in the state, which are some of our most vulnerable populations around their health. And so building what these services look like has been extremely difficult. Every time that we peel back a layer of the onion around our food distribution network in the state of Kentucky, we find another layer that we have to peel back. If you think your job is complicated, if you think that what you do in your life is complicated, I promise you, it is nothing as complicated as the food distribution system in this country. And we have found it to be extremely difficult, but we're getting almost to the last couple layers. And we've had some really good successes. We've started a new farmer care initiative program where we're getting the inaugural partner is ARH, where we're going to help to expand the Raising Hope program through more opportunities for screenings and testing, going beyond just A1Cs and blood pressure cup checks and those kind of things to where we can actually do blood work on site to be able to help people figure out what's going on with mobile units. We're looking for more partners in that. So any other hospital in the state of Kentucky that wants to be a partner in the Farmer Care Initiative, we're definitely looking for them. And then we've had some other successes of getting more food in. So we also have a hospital that ARH, that same ARH that is getting all Kentucky cattlemen's beef for their signature burgers inside of their hospitals. And so they're doing an exclusive contract with them to where that they're getting it in. And it's also going to increase local production and local produce being served in these hospitals as well because of how they're having to set it up.
Yeah.
What we found is that it's nearly impossible for a single farmer to work through the system that has been built. And so unless you're able to read through a 55-page contract document with 8 addendums that are associated with it, and you can get your $6 million worth of liability insurance, and you can figure out how to get E. coli testing in 2 different spots and all this kind of stuff through the process, they've made it nearly impossible for mountable odds to be able to do it. So luckily, we have things like Beef Solutions and others that can take that brunt and really organize and aggregate our farmers together, and doing the same thing on the vegetable production side of it. So we're trying to really affect it in a meaningful way. And we've been working with so many partners on this, the economic development part. We've been working with Secretary of Economic Development, Jeff Nolan, his team on this. And we've been working with Secretary Friedlander and their team. And also working towards the federal level of, as we see a new administration change come in DC. We're very hopeful with some of the things that RFK Jr. and the new Secretary of USDA are talking about, that we think we can be the leader in America around some of these initiatives that we're working on. We've got several calls coming up with either the Secretary themselves or their transition teams with the Trump administration, so that we can really get some education for them on what we're doing. The last thing, on the third thing that I think I'm most proud of this year, is around ag education in elementary schools. And you all have heard me talk about this a little bit, but if we're just getting these kids in high school, we're losing them. We've got to start doing this early so that we can really take hold of this. And we've got a partnership that we're working on with the Lieutenant Governor's office and the Education Department. Kristen Wright, the State FFA advisor, has kind of been spearheading this with my Education and Outreach Director, Bethany Mattingly. And we've gotten to a point where we think we're going to be able to do an announcement sometime first of next year. But the basic gist of it is we're trying to create a week of ag education in the spring and a week of ag education in the fall that is dedicated to where that we are embedding ag curriculum inside of the rest of the curriculum. So if you're teaching math, it's going to be ag math. If you're teaching science, it'll be ag science. And, we're going to start out slow and try to build up to where it's very aggressive. But I think that we're going to have some really special stuff that's happening with that. I don't know if Kristen or anybody has shared any of this with you all, but I'm very excited. The education cabinet's been very open and willing. Lieutenant Governor's been very good to deal with. And we're going to have other partners like Farm Bureau and others that are going to come in, ag in the classroom, other stuff that's going to be able to come alongside of this. But the purpose is that you would have ag education for that week. It would be embedded in the curriculum. So English would be ag English, reading ag books, that kind of stuff. If math, it's ag math. And then hopefully at the end of the week, you're culminating this entire experience to where that you're doing an on-farm visit somewheres. Hopefully it'll increase a little bit of profitability for a farmer. Maybe they're getting paid for them to be out there. But if not, then those kids are at least still going to get some kind of in-depth experience on the farm.
Hey, gosh, that was a lot, Jonathan. You're excited about so many things, and it's overwhelming to think of all you all have done in a year and what's to come. So
that's just three.
That's just three. Yeah. If you are a student and your teacher's giving you an assignment after listening to this, you've got 3 mega topics you can focus on right there. It's awesome.
So if you want to know what we're going to focus on next year, that's going to be the 4th one of these. So we're going to continue that work, and then we're going to add a couple next year. But the first one and main one that I know we're going to work on is farm to school programs, of getting more school food that is locally produced. And my team's right now working on overviewing and looking at the procurement process that we have to go through for schools. And then also we've got a new initiative that we're going to push out, a competition where that if your school has the highest percentage of local food in the state, you're going to be the number 1 winner, and you're going to get $10,000 for your school to be able to do something with, $8,000 for second place and $6,000 for third. Hey. So we've created this competition amongst our food service industry, our food service administrators, to be able to compete for those kind of things. It's not game-changing money, but it's something for them to kind of shoot for. And we did get an increase in our farm to school program from the feds this year, a couple $1 million increase, so that'll help. But the main thing is getting it to where that our economies of scale are so great that we're competitive, local produce to be able, and meats and cheeses to be able to go into our schools. And I'm really excited about the progress we're going to make next year. People are already talking about it in the food service industry, our farmers. And we've got some really good farmers that are doing some really innovative things. It's just a matter of making this something that everybody can participate in.
It is clear that your staff has this vision and what their goals are. And man, what a legacy that this will leave for Kentucky people in general, not just the agriculture sector. So I think that's really inspiring work. I mean, you've mentioned this several times already, but you truly get to represent Kentucky agriculture. Obviously within our state, but on a national and global stage too. And so I think for our next question, Jonathan, just what do you love to share about Kentucky farms and the people that work in the ag industry as you're representing this industry on those different national and global stages? And maybe is there a most memorable place you've gotten to see in your first year that you just love telling their story?
One of the most memorable things that I'll remember is it's hard to answer, trying to think of how to do it. So one of the things that I love the most is how relationships come together for results. And so I've got a friend of mine who worked for Senator McConnell, And he moved on to another position. And whenever I started running for ag commissioner, he was like, "You need to talk to this woman that is executive director of the Meats Institute. Her name's Juliana Potts. She's brilliant. She's from Ohio. She used to be at Farm Bureau on the federal level, and she's going to have some great ideas. You all be really close, good connectors." So come to find out, the Meats Institute is the association where all the meat processors are. So all the CEOs of these meat processors, JBS, Tyson, Purdue,
Mhm.
you name it, Hormel's, just on down the list. And then all the feedlot packers and all the other people, they're all part of this association. So when we were starting to talk about ag as economic development and identifying the needs that we have in the state, called Juliana, just talked to her and started talking to her about how we were trying to approach this, to where government wasn't looking at how can we shut you down, how can we regulate you, how can we talk bad about you, but it was how can we help you, how can we get you the resources you need, how can we ensure that you're staying in business, that you're employing 1,200 people in Henderson County, how can we make sure these things happen. And she said it was very refreshing. Nobody ever had ever proactively called and said, "What can we do for you?" And so that immediately put Kentucky at the top of the list for relationship for groups like that. And so we worked through a few things, and I helped them on several issues with some of their clients that they have. And at one of the last meetings that we had before I did this, she said, "Well, what can I do for you?" Because I hadn't asked anything of them. And I said, "Well, I'll tell you, if you give me an opportunity to be in front of your CEOs and the people who are decision makers about investments that they're going to make in this country, and let me give a pitch of why Kentucky, then that'll be enough payment for me. That's all I want. I want to get in front of the decision makers, and I want to be able to make a pitch on why Kentucky." And so a couple months went by, hadn't heard anything. And then she invited me to come down to Austin, Texas, where their national conference was going to be, where they were bringing in 80 to 100 of these CEOs from across the country. And I was able to make a Why Kentucky pitch and talk about the great things that we're doing in Kentucky and how we're working through the legislature, working with the governor's office, working with our commodity groups across the state, kind of the systematic approach that we have taken to really building an ecosystem in Kentucky for success. And it was really a special moment for me. And whenever we left, we had several of those companies that came up and said, "I'd never thought about Kentucky until now." And what I found is it's not that anybody ever has a negative placement on Kentucky. It's just we're not loud enough to get the attention at times.
Mhm.
I was the first elected official who ever spoke at that conference before, and the first one who had ever attended that conference. And I think it made a meaningful impact, and we're seeing the results from that every single day with different companies that are wanting to invest, expand in Kentucky, and look at us for the first time. And so I'm really proud of that. That's one of the things that um, I think will pay off dividends, is just being able to tell that Kentucky story. And a lot of times it's just individual farmers. I talk about Justin Obachain all the time. I don't know if you all know Justin or not, but he's from Hancock County, and this guy is just a regular old farmer out there in Hancock County, and he grows sweet corn. Well, he's figured out how to process that sweet corn and freeze it so that he can extend his growing season to 12 months so that he can supply regularly school districts with frozen corn.
Yeah.
He's making investments, he's making moves, and he's making money, and he's providing a service for these schools. And so you take there's 1,000 Justin Obachains in this state that are doing really innovative, amazing, cool things that are creating value for people across the state. And that's really what I like talking about the most whenever I go and talk to other people, is just about the real life scenarios and instances that people are doing really innovative and cool things to impact agriculture in the state.
Yeah. And that processing piece, maybe people haven't thought about this, but if you're preparing cafeteria food for a hospital or a school, the act of shucking and silking corn takes a lot of time and staff effort. So you go, we've
Yep.
got to buy it frozen. It saves so much time. And that's a challenge for farmers, is how do I get this cooked ready for you? And man, if we could answer that, what about markets in Kentucky? Yeah.
So that's what we're answering. What you just said.
Mhm. Yeah.
In the vegetable market in the state, on the economic development side of it, that is wholly what we're focused on. Is it's not enough just to be able to sell a head of broccoli. You have to sell chopped broccoli, frozen, ready to put in a steamer. And so figuring out how to do that further processing, that cut, can, and freeze operation, and on several projects in the state right now to try and bring investment in so that we can basically have an opportunity to aggregate farmers together and then somebody process it to where that they can sell it out in the right places. And we've got several companies that are looking at expanding or doing that right now. And as we start to peel back these layers and these onions, that's what we're finding out, is that it's not enough just to sell them sweet corn. You got to have it packaged, prepared, and ready. And that's really where the next round of investment that we're going to try and focus on goes to, for our farmers in the state, if they can do it on the farm, but also trying to get it to an aggregated point in more of a distributive model for the state of Kentucky.
Man, I just think it's exciting to think if someone goes in 10 years from now and they look back on this conversation, I wonder what kind of markets have opened up for Kentucky farmers and, how that conversation will change.
Well, let's just hope some.
Yeah, I hope so. That's exciting for folks to listen to. So I want to pivot now. You talked so much about your administration and your team and what you all are doing. I want to ask you a question personally as a leader. This year, you've done different work than you ever have. You're leading a whole governmental agency. You have a big team of folks behind you. How have you grown as a leader this year? And maybe what has surprised you?
That's a good question, Sheldon. I hadn't really taken any time to think about that, but I feel like I'm a pretty consistent person. I've kind of been the same way that I've been for a long time. But what I have found is an even deeper love for the employees at the Department of Agriculture through this year. When I first came in, what we try to do is to change the culture at the department. A lot of times in state government, they just feel like a wheel in the cog, just a piece of the gear. And what I wanted to do day one was to make sure that they understood the value that they have, the importance that they have in the work that we do, and unhandcuff them so that they can do their work. I'm not a micromanager, never have been. I didn't hire micromanagers in executive positions. I want people to feel free to do the work that they're supposed to do and to see the value in the work that they're doing and really feel valued in what they're doing. And so the culture change that we tried to create was one around innovation, success, and gratitude. And what we implemented there was we want them to be able to innovate beyond what they have to do by statute. Let's look at just what's required of us, but let's look at how we go beyond this to create the greatest value possible for the people that we're representing and the constituents that we get to work for every single day. And so that's the innovation part. Through that, you're going to find success. And then let's find that success and let's push forward in a more meaningful way. Whenever I first got into politics, I had a consultant. He used to tell me success begets success. And so just each part of the success that you have, just build on it every single day. And that's what we try to do. And then I think the most important and the main key is this gratitude part, because I tell my people all the time that gratitude is free. It doesn't cost you anything to be grateful. And being able to show that you are grateful for not only just the employees at the department, but the culture is being grateful for the partnerships that we have in the state as well. FFA, 4-H, commodity groups, Farm Bureau, all of these organizations that we deal with every day. Because there's a lot of stuff that we do with each other. And a lot of times the thank yous go unseen, but being able to show that gratitude that we have from the department with all the employees and then with all the groups that we work on. And through those three things, that innovation, success, and gratitude, I think that there's not a better place to work in state government than at the Department of Agriculture. And I think a little bit of the culture shock for some of the folks that were there is I started just showing up and being there, and I'd walk in their office, and I think now they're fine with it. But for like the first 3 weeks, they were like, "Is he checking in on me? Is he doing something?" But no, I just wanted to know how their week had gone, or what their kids were doing, or is there something fun that they're getting ready to do this weekend? Just trying to get to know and understand them, and then beyond just knowing and understanding them on a personal level, was trying to know and understand their job, because I'm having to make decisions on their behalf every single day in the things that we're doing. And I find it hard to make decisions if I don't understand it. And so going and a gas pump inspection with somebody, or going and doing a grain bin inspection with someone, or going to a livestock validation site so that I can see the frustrations that they have and that the other people have involved.
Yeah.
So really just getting to know what the actual jobs that they're working on, they're doing every single day. And, I can tell you that whenever we first started doing this, everybody was nervous, like, is he doing something that's going to hurt me? But I think everybody's good now. And, we'll have our staff meetings. We've had, I think, 2 full staff meetings this year where we brought everybody in. We're going to try and do them 3 times a year. But whenever we do that, we're bringing them in, we're trying to feed them. And then we're trying to do something to where that we're bringing value to them being there so that they can all talk. So for instance, whenever we brought them in October after State Fair to say thank you for all the work, I brought a bunch of pumpkins, donated them, and let them take them home to their kids. And we did a decorating contest at the department, had a winner, that kind of stuff. And just trying to do that team building in a way to be able to show them how grateful I am. And I think it goes a long way.
Mark your calendars for Give FFA Day 2025.
This February 20th, we are celebrating the 10th Give FFA Day. This is a day focused on giving back to Kentucky FFA so that its members can continue to build communities, grow leaders, and strengthen agriculture. With your help, Kentucky FFA members can have a once-in-a-lifetime experience with no financial burden.
Your gift on Give FFA Day matters. FFA members are able to expand their SAE projects, attend leadership training events, participate in contests, and even wear their very own blue corduroy jacket.
If you believe in the mission of FFA, we ask that you give enthusiastically on February 20th at kyffa.org.
Interested in doing more? We'd love to have you as a Give FFA Day ambassador. Simply sign up through our weekly newsletter. You can make sure you're receiving this newsletter by clicking the link in our show notes. We will see you and your gift on February 20th. It does. That culture does go a long way, and people notice and appreciate that. We want to talk to you about another employment opportunity at KDA, and that's through your all's internship program. And I know you have a heart for it, and you guys had, we might be a little biased here because I know you had some of our own as interns last year, but we just think it's a wonderful program. I'm a former KDA intern, and it is a great program. So share with those listening today that maybe know someone that would be a great fit for this, or if you're a student listening and it's something you might be interested in. What does that internship look like? And then what kind of folks are you looking for that are a good fit for it?
I don't know who was there when you interned, Ruth Ann, but I'm sorry that it wasn't me and my team that was there. Because I don't know if you have talked to Caroline or Jackson or any of the rest of them that were there.
They loved it.
It's absolutely the best. There's no internship that compares to what we do at the department. And it's because we treat them the same as every other employee. We give them the responsibility. We let them innovate. We let them find success. And then we show them how grateful we are. We treat them just like everybody else. The thing that I told my staff in the very day one that we got there is when we get this internship program, they are not going to be your secretary. They're not going to do the grunt work and the paperwork and all the stuff and sit them in a corner, sit them in an office, because we want them to come work here one day. That's kind of the purpose. We want them to be excited about the Department of Agriculture. We want them to be excited about agriculture in general. And so just as some of the things that I'll do is with the interns that we have, I'll send an email out if I go somewheres, and I'll say, I got 4 spots open in the vehicle. Who wants to go? The first 4 that respond, they get to go. And then we'll start rotating through them to make sure everybody gets to do it. But I tell them that if you don't get enough of me, it's your fault, not mine. I promise. Just because you didn't participate the way you should. And Caroline Growth, our amazing former state president and now national vice president, Eastern Region, she termed this, but she started calling it, we would have these motivational Monday meetings. And so what we would do is after staff meeting, I would bring all the interns over and we would sit down, and it was a no holds barred question and answer session. I would use some type of words of wisdom, if you want to call it that, for me. I don't know how wise they were, but just failures that I've had in my life, things that I've found to be helpful for me to fix those failures. And then some strategic things that I try to do and have learned. So, kind of the 6 principles of success that I use in my life, or the 10 things that require no effort for you to be able to be successful. Those kind of things that we would try to give them. And then I just answer questions, just one right after the other, whatever they had. And one of them that stumped me the worst one day is we were talking about discipline. And I said this, Ruth Ann, you may have heard me whenever we were in Lexington, but we were talking about discipline and how I built discipline in my life. I do these ice baths all the time, and I work out every day, and I make sure that I do all these things. I'm like putting discipline in my life. And Caroline, being brilliant as she is, she looked at me and she said, well, how do you do it? How do you build discipline in your life for your faith in Christ? And I was like, oh, that is the one place that I fail probably more than anywhere. It was just that station that she had that really hit me and impacted me. I'm the Sunday school director at my church. I teach Sunday school whenever I need to. When somebody's not there, I do all these things. I got kids in Christian school. We try to do devotionals, that kind of stuff, but it wasn't enough. And so having that conversation and talking with Caroline, it made me actually think about how should I build that discipline in my life. And so, as impactful as I hope that I was for those kids that were interns this past year, I want them to know how impactful they were for me. And whether it was Jack Matthews or Jackson Bird or Carissa Hamilton or any of the rest of them that were there, they were so impactful for me and my staff. I mean, we miss them still. Like, we're probably 4 away from
Probably
having.
looking forward to having your new group of interns soon.
Yeah. I mean, we missed them because they became such a part of our team for 2 months, that 3 months that they were there. And it's true. I mean, I if there's a better internship in the state, I'd love for somebody to argue with me about it, because it ain't gonna happen.
I love it. So when are applications open for this?
They're open now through January 15th.
Okay. Well, maybe when people listen to this, it may be passed by, but we've posted about it a lot on social media, and it's for college students, right?
Yeah, so you have to be in college to be able to do it. And one of the things that's kind of a barrier for it, we're trying to figure out how we can help students with this, is the housing, because if somewhere close to work every day. And so we're, a couple of them are figuring it out, and we've got some resourceful kids. So, they're going to live with a friend, a parent, or somebody close by. But, maybe we'll try to figure out something to do, like a dorming type thing with some people in Frankfurt, trying to help out with that, see if we can get some people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I think that's a great opportunity for all of you all involved. I know that the energy from younger folks around, it inspires you and your whole team. It inspires us to keep going, keep innovating and meeting that challenge.
Well, for me, I
Of
just
course.
tell you just one more thing on that. For me, one of the things that I love about it the most is you can't just do something because you have to have a reason and an answer behind it, because they're going to ask, why are you doing it? If you don't have a reason why, maybe you should come up with a reason or do something different. And I love having those young people around me that are just curious. They just have that curiosity about them. Some of the best friends that I have in my life don't allow me to just say things without an explanation behind them, because I want to know what I believe. And if I don't believe it, maybe I need to change my beliefs, or maybe I need to really research it a little bit more to let people know why I believe what I believe.
Yeah. I think that's great. I have certainly been challenged by some of our state officers who have kind of reshaped how I think about things, because this new generation does ask hard questions. They aren't as accepting of, like, this is just the way it is. And that's good. That's good energy to have around. So I want to ask about the Ag Tech program. Our farm license plate program is over a decade old. I think 2025 will be year 13 for the farm license plate program set up like it is. But we had a record-breaking year, your first year of office, raising over $930,000. You may have the exact number in your head, but that's my ballpark. And you've been an incredible advocate for us. So it's folks who make a $10 donation when they go to the county clerk's office and pay for their farm license plate. It's divided in thirds. Kentucky Proud gets a third, Kentucky 4-H and Kentucky FFA get a third. What would you tell people, and what do you tell people who ask about this program, and why we hope they enthusiastically participate?
Yeah. I remember getting a call from you, Sheldon. It wasn't maybe 2 or 3 months after we started, and we were in on ag tag stuff and working on it. And you had seen that we were already doing stuff. Like, we didn't wait on anybody. We just started doing ag tag, trying it. I've believed in it for a long time. I've paid my ag tags. I've got ag tags on all of our vehicles at the farm. And I didn't know any better than to just do it,
Yeah, that's great.
And so we just did it. And we were working with county clerks everywhere we would go. We try to put stuff in. And I remember getting a call from you and saying, this is great. We want our ag commissioner to be out here doing it, but how can we help? That was kind of the funny. I loved it. We try not to wait on people, but I didn't know any better. I just thought I was supposed to. I thought it was responsibility. And I feel like it is my responsibility, and I take ownership of this program because I do believe in it so much. And because I sit on the foundation board now, I'm able to see beyond what I thought I knew about the programs and the impact of it, because I knew about this previously, whether it was the Shark Tank or the SAE projects or some of those types of things. But being able to really see these kids and be the ambassadors for the program because they have been able to receive a jacket or go on a trip or something meaningful in their life, it's truly amazing. And this is what I tell people. These farmers, whenever I talk to them, anybody get an ag tag, is that $10 that you're going to donate will not impact your life zero. You will never miss that $10. You'll spend that at a gas station. You'll spend it at a McDonald's. You'll leave that in the couch cushion somewhere. Is that $10, as much money as you may think it is, will impact your life zero. but it could
Mhm.
be everything to one of these FFA students.
Yeah.
4-H kids into one of these programs that we help fund through Kentucky Proud. It could mean everything for an FFA kid to be able to get a jacket, to put it on
Mhm.
the first time and feel valued in an organization where they may have never felt value at home. They may have never felt value in the school, but they feel value putting that jacket on and being able to see the impact directly, the smiles on their faces, and the confidence that it gives them to know that they can be better than the circumstances that they come from. And that's really what the Ag Tag program is about, what that $10 can do.
Mm. It's so good. Yes. I hope everybody, you renew your tag in March, go to your county clerk, make sure you're including that $10 because you're right. That $10 may not seem like much, but collectively, all together, what it can do, it is a life-changing amount of money. And it has been for a long time. And it's awesome to see those interns you were just talking about. They've all been impacted by ag tag dollars in so many ways. We are growing the next generation of ag leaders for Kentucky that we need the Department of Ag, the next commissioner of agriculture, the next foundation director, all those things, they're going to be impacted by the ag tech program. So we need everybody's support as it grows. Yeah.
Absolutely. You've shared with us so many valuable nuggets of what your staff has been up to, what you hope to accomplish in 2025. It has been just a wonderful episode catching up with you, but you know how we roll around here. We always ask our guests some questions at the end just about them. Excuse me, and their leadership journey. And the first one is we just want to ask, what keeps you motivated as a leader?
It's going to sound cheesy, but I got 4 kids at the house, and
It's not cheesy.
I got a 13-year-old boy, I've got an 11-year-old girl, I've got a 9-year-old boy, and I've got a 7-year-old daughter. And I think the thing that motivates me the most is knowing that if I want them to have the life that I want them to have, that I need to do everything in my power while I'm here on this earth to impact the future that they're going to be able to receive from me.
Mhm.
And so every single day I think about my kids, and I know that not only is it impacting my kids, but it's impacting your kids and everybody else's kids in the state. And that's really what motivates me to go and be the leader that I feel like I should be and need to be. And, there's probably some ego there that, I feel like it's left up to me to do it. And, it's really difficult at times, to see beyond today and what
Mhm.
we're facing and the issues and the problems. But I think that that's what we have to do as leaders in the organizations that we're in, is look at tomorrow and how it's going to impact the future Jonathan Shells, the future Sheldon McKinney's, the future Ruth Ann Finks that we're trying to bring up in this state. And a lot of times the things that we work on at the department are because of the failures that I've had on the farm, or
Mhm.
failures that I've had in my life and my leadership, or the failures that I've had in my parenting, the failures that I've had in my marriage, the failures that we've had in all things in my life. I feel like it's a lot of times the things that I focus on because I know those failures and I know where they came from. And we try to build out things through our positions, through leadership, through the talks that we have to try and prepare that next generation to be better than I am.
Yeah. That's great, Jonathan, and not cheesy at all. That was great. Our next question is about philanthropy. There's a lot of ways to give back: time, talent, treasure. We are philanthropy. It's so important. And so our question for you is, what is the most meaningful way you have gotten to engage in philanthropy that's just meant the most to you?
Yeah, my time. Money comes and goes. You can always get more money. Um, but time is something that you can't get more of. And time is something that is the same for everybody. And what I have noticed with my kids is that they're never going to remember the video game that we played, but they'll remember that we played that video game together. They're never going to remember what they scored in a golf round or what I scored in a golf round, but they're going to remember that time in the golf cart with me that day. They may never remember the people that we met with whenever I took my daughter to DC, but they're going to remember that plane ride and holding the hands. God, I'm about to cry.
Yeah.
But that time, excuse me,
Yeah.
time together that we get to spend is just as important. And when I think about the philanthropy that we give back, that's one of the things that probably breaks my heart the most today in the society that we have, is that people don't understand what volunteerism is anymore. You know,
Mm.
we have fewer and fewer volunteers that are going out and impacting people in a meaningful way. And you all know this, but I've got 2 adoptive children. And they come from situations that nobody would ever want to come from: abuse, neglect, all the things. And when I think about all these kids that are out there in organizations like CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates, or in KY, or any of these other organizations that are out there, and these kids that may never have a dad that's going to be able to do the things that I've done for mine, but knowing that the time that I can spend with a child like that, or that you can spend with a child like that, money is important. There's no question about it. Everybody needs money. They need those donations. But the thing that these kids need the most is you. Yeah, professional baseball player, an ag commissioner. You don't have to be an executive director of association. You don't have to be an astronaut. You just need to be you and have the time to be able to spend with them. And so to me, that's the thing that's probably impacted me the most through any kind of volunteer or any kind of philanthropy that I've done, any kind of give back or charity, is just the time that you're able to spend with people that really need it.
Yeah, that's so great. And I want to make sure we link in our show notes if someone's curious. You had a great fundraiser that you gave your time and talent and treasure to do at the state fair for CASA, for Court Appointed Advocates for Children. And I know that's a cause that's really dear to you. So I want to make sure we link for people to learn more about that and how to get involved.
And I serve on the CASA board of Lexington. That's the one that I actually serve on.
Okay, so we'll share that one. Yeah.
I think what a great call to action to anyone listening to this today is how are you using your time to give back? And are there areas that you just love and are so special to you that you could give more time to? It's a good thing for everyone to think about today. I know you got me thinking about that too. Our last question is really off the wall. And it is just, what is something you cannot stop talking about right now?
So me and my friends, my male, I'll put it that way, there's about 7 of us, and we're doing this holiday fitness challenge. And I'm probably texting 10 times a day in that group text and talking about it. But we've got this thing going through the end of the year where, you all know some of them. Daniel Hayden, you all know.
Yeah.
You all know Travis Burton, Corey Bridges.
Okay.
You'll know several of these people that are in this group, and we're all just trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And so me and Travis put together this holiday challenge to where that you do certain exercises and you get certain points for the exercises that you do during the day. Not gonna brag, but I'm tied in first place with Travis.
Well, you all did make the rules, so
but the rest say too. But it's like doing 30 burpees, you get 1 point. 25 pull-ups, you get 1 point. Run a mile, you get 1 point. Do 200 jump ropes, you get 1 point. Then doing 10 50-meter sprints, you get 10 or 1 point. And so you add them all up at the end of the day, however much you've done, then get bragging rights or whatever. It's not really that big a deal, but we try to do a lot of this kind of stuff. We're doing a Spartan trifecta next year, doing the Spartan races of 5, 10, and 21K, and just trying to be the best versions that we can of ourselves. So that's probably what I'm talking about now to my friend group.
Sure. Yeah, that's it.
No, that's
what
fun.
we want to know is
so that's what I was.
It's good to humanize everyone too. Like we're all talking about something that we're really into, and it's fun. Yeah,
it has been fun. And when we've asked this question, everyone has immediately known. Like this is what I'm talking about constantly. Is this thing?
Yeah, we have a lot of awareness about what we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's probably a cheesy thing where they were probably like doing some real big stuff, but I don't know.
That's big.
Mine was just kind of, you said silly, Ruth Ann. So
is the maximum amount of points you can earn 5 a day?
No. So you can do that as many as you want. So for first day I got 10 points, and yesterday I got 8 points. I don't know what I'll get today. We'll see.
Okay, but it is those prescribed exercises. You're not subbing out things.
No, do them as many times as you want. So you could do 100 burpees like I did on Monday, or you could do 75 pull-ups like yesterday. You could do as many of them as you want to gain the points.
I'm with you. I think it's great. What do you win?
Bragging rights.
That's it. Just pride.
The ultimate prize.
And the fitness of doing it for around the holidays. That's wonderful.
You get to call everybody else in the group losers. So
yeah. Well, I think that's wonderful because you are so busy and doing meaningful work for Kentucky agriculture. You have a family and all these things, and you're still making time for yourself and for friendships, and you're figuring out how to do it in this way. So I think it's great.
Well, as you know, Sheldon and Ruth Ann, with the men, that men friendships are a lot different than women friendships at times, the things that we say and do to each other. And so this is a lot more it's one of those group texts you don't want to share with everybody.
Sure.
Some of those, but one of the reasons why Travis and I try to do this as much as we can with our groups, our friend groups, is because there's been studies shown that men don't have friends later in life. And when you don't have friends later in life, you're more apt to being unhealthy. You're more apt to being your motivation being gone, and you're more likely to have some type of chronic disease and mental health issues.
Mhm.
We got aware of that several years ago, and so we've tried to bring in as many of our friends in this group as possible so that we can try and help encourage them through the way. And I know this is more male-centered, man-centered, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't have the same understanding of women to be able to give any advice here, but I will
Sure.
give some advice to the men and the young men that are going to be listening to this is just remember that and make sure that you're checking in on your people and, try to find something that you can do that's productive with your friends that's going to add value to you in your life.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I would say men friendships, a difference that I see in my husband and his relationships is that they have to be like doing a thing.
Or making fun of each other in some way.
Yes. Yeah. Like you have to go hunting. You
Yeah.
have to do a thing.
But if you
So,
said things that I said to my friends, to your girlfriends, you all wouldn't be girlfriends anymore. But guys, it's expected. Like, you're
yeah.
gonna you're an idiot and they're
Yeah.
going, yeah, I love you
You're
too.
reaching. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you have friends, Jonathan. I'm glad you're building this friend group and that it's meaningful. So that's great. And I hope you win the points. That's good.
Oh, I'm gonna win.
Okay. Well, if I was your friend, I'd be like, well, you did make up the exercises of the rules of this event. So, yeah. Well, thank you for being with us. It has been so fun to work with you this year. Look forward to all the great things that are to come. You're doing a great job. And I just want you to hear it really does matter. And so thank you for what you do on behalf of all Kentucky FFA members. And it's just been a joy.
Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. Thank you all. And join us next time on Growing Kentucky's Leaders. Growing Kentucky's Leaders is a podcast brought to you by the Kentucky FFA Foundation. Our music is performed by Bourbon County FFA member Joe Fritch. Artwork is by Julie Fritch Creative. Your hosts are Sheldon McKinney and Ruth Ann Fink, and you can find us on all social platforms at Kentucky FFA.